I didn't realize I was invisible until I noticed something uncomfortable. The more I explained myself, the less seriously people took me. At first, I thought it was bad luck, wrong environment, wrong people, but the pattern followed me. At work, in relationships, in conversations with strangers, I was always understood, but never respected. That's when it hit me. Respect doesn't come from being clear. It comes from being unmovable. If this sounds familiar, stay with me for a moment. And if you've lived this pattern more than once, subscribe. This channel isn't about motivation. It's about control. Back then, I reacted to everything. The comment, the tone, a delay in response. Someone questioned me, I clarified. Someone ignored me, I tried harder. Someone challenged me, I explained my intentions. I thought maturity meant emotional availability. What I didn't see was that I was training people how to treat me. People don't respect what they can easily move. The modern world teaches men to be responsive, open, expressive, adaptable. Sounds healthy. In practice, it creates men who leak energy constantly. Notifications, opinions, drama disguised as urgency, and the invisible man tries to keep up with all of it. He answers fast. He shares too much. He fills silence because silence feels like loss. That was me. The mistake wasn't caring. The mistake was reacting without choosing. Stoic detachment isn't emotional numbness. It's selective engagement. I didn't become colder. I became slower. Slower to respond, slower to explain, slower to react. At first, it felt wrong, like I was being rude, like I was losing ground. I wasn't. I was reclaiming territory. Here's the uncomfortable truth no one tells you. People test men who react quickly. They leave alone men who don't. Every emotional reaction is information. It tells others where they can push. So I stopped giving free information. When someone tried to provoke me, I didn't defend myself. I observed. When someone misunderstood me, I didn't rush to correct them. I let reality do the work. When conversations turned emotional, I stayed neutral, not distant, neutral. This is where most men fail. They think detachment means withdrawal. It doesn't. It means presence without surrender. Another hard lesson: you don't need to be understood to be respected. The desire to be understood is a leftover need for validation. Strong men don't demand clarity, they allow ambiguity, because ambiguity creates weight. I started saying less, not because I had nothing to say, but because my words mattered more when they arrived. Silence stopped being awkward. It became leverage. People began adjusting their tone around me, not because I announced boundaries, but because I embodied them. Boundaries that need explanation aren't boundaries, they're requests. Real boundaries are patterns, consistent behavior, predictable restraint. The chaos of modern life feeds on reaction. News cycles want outrage. Social media wants opinion. People want access to your emotional state. Detachment is starving that system. I stopped arguing online, stopped defending positions to strangers, stopped correcting people who didn't matter. Being right doesn't build authority, stability does. Here's a simple example. Someone replies to you coldly. The old reaction is internal panic. What did I do? Should I clarify? Now I do nothing. If it's a one-time thing, it means nothing. If it's a pattern, I adjust access. No confrontation, no explanation, just distance. Detachment organizes your life. Another example, pressure situations. Before, I felt the need to prove calmness. Now I let silence speak. Men who are truly grounded don't announce it, they wait. The more I practiced this, the clearer it became. Emotional independence isn't about suppressing feeling, it's about refusing to be led by it. I still feel irritation, discomfort, anger. I just don't outsource my behavior to those emotions. That's the difference. Most men live externally. Their mood depends on response. Their confidence depends on feedback. Their peace depends on circumstances. Detachment flips that structure, internal first, external second. The world doesn't change. Your position inside it does. And here's the quiet result. No one advertises. People stop pushing. Not dramatically, subtly. They test once, get nothing, and move on. Respect grows in silence. If you're invisible, it's rarely because you're weak. It's because you're too accessible, too available emotionally, too explainable, too reactive. The solution isn't dominance. It's restraint, not isolation, control. Detachment isn't escaping life. It's standing firm while life moves around you. And once you understand that, invisibility fades, not because you demanded attention, but because you stopped chasing it. There's another layer most men never reach. They learn to stay calm, they learn to pause, but they still let other people set the frame. I did that for a long time. I wasn't reacting emotionally anymore, but I was still orienting my behavior around other people's expectations. That's a quieter trap. You stop arguing, but you still want approval. You stop explaining, but you still hope to be seen as reasonable. That's not independence yet. Real detachment begins when you stop managing how you're perceived. I had to face this honestly. Why did I want certain people to understand me? Why did their opinions still matter? The answer wasn't flattering. It was ego. The invisible man often mistakes humility for self-erasure. He shrinks to avoid conflict. He adapts to avoid tension. That's not Stoicism. That's fear disguised as peace. Detachment doesn't mean making yourself smaller. It means making yourself unavailable to nonsense. At some point, I stopped adjusting. Not aggressively, not dramatically. I just didn't bend. If a conversation drifted into emotional manipulation, I didn't correct it. I exited. If someone used guilt, I didn't argue against it. I ignored the premise. That's an important distinction. You don't fight manipulation. You step outside it. Most manipulation only works if you accept the emotional frame. Once you refuse the frame, it collapses. Another uncomfortable truth. You teach people how seriously to take you by what you tolerate. Every time you overlook disrespect to keep the peace, you set a price on your presence. I had to stop being cheap, not loud, not hostile, just unavailable. There's a specific moment when people realize you can't be pushed. It's subtle. They make a comment. You don't react. They wait. You don't fill the silence. They try humor. You stay neutral. And something shifts. They feel the absence of leverage. That's authority, not dominance, not intimidation. Wait. Another chapter most men avoid is loneliness. When you detach properly, some people fall away, not because you rejected them, but because they no longer recognize you. They were attached to your reactions, your availability, your emotional labor. When that disappears, so do they. This phase is critical. Many men panic here and revert. They start explaining again, soften their posture, reconnect emotionally just to feel included. That's regression. Solitude is the price of solidity. You don't stay alone forever, but you do pass through it, and it's necessary. In that silence, you rebuild your internal structure. Your days become simpler. Your decisions become cleaner. Your energy stops leaking outward. You start acting instead of reacting. You choose when to engage, who gets access, what deserves attention. This is where discipline replaces emotion. You don't need motivation, you need standards. Standards about how people speak to you, how much access they get, what behavior you ignore, what you walk away from. No announcements. No ultimatums, just consistency. Here's something else no one tells men. The calm is threatening to chaotic people. When you don't mirror their urgency, they feel exposed. When you don't react to their emotion, they feel alone with it. That's why detached men are often labeled cold. It's not true. They're just not participating in emotional theater. I stopped trying to be liked. That doesn't mean I became unlikable. It means I stopped negotiating my center. Paradoxically, respect increased, not from everyone, from the right people. People with boundaries recognize boundaries. Another important shift was internal dialogue. I stopped asking, how should I respond? I started asking, is a response necessary? Most of the time, it wasn't. Silence is not empty. It communicates stability. Men who talk constantly reveal uncertainty. Men who speak selectively project certainty. This isn't about manipulation. It's about alignment. Your inner state and outer behavior must match. If you're calm, act calm. If you're unsure, wait. If something doesn't matter, don't touch it. The invisible man tries to manage everything. The grounded man lets most things pass. Eventually, something else happens. Your self-respect solidifies. You stop second-guessing yourself. Stop replaying conversations. Stop wondering if you said the wrong thing. Because you didn't say much at all, your life becomes quieter, not boring, clear, and clarity is power. Detachment doesn't remove you from life. It places you at the center of yourself. From there, nothing external has authority over you, not opinions, not pressure, not chaos. And that's when invisibility truly ends. Not because you demanded attention, but because you stopped needing it. There's a final shift that completes the transformation. It's the moment when you stop trying to control outcomes. Most men think authority comes from influence, from persuasion, from steering situations. That's another illusion. Real authority comes from non-attachment to results. I noticed this change in myself when situations stopped pulling me forward. Meetings, conversations, social environments. Before, I walked in with intention to perform, to be seen as competent, to leave a good impression. That pressure was invisible, but everyone felt it. Now I walk in complete. No internal agenda. If the conversation flows, it flows. If it doesn't, it doesn't. This is where most men get uncomfortable, because when you stop chasing outcomes, you risk not being chosen. But that risk is exactly what creates gravity. People sense when a man doesn't need anything from them. No approval, no validation, no emotional response. That absence of need changes the entire dynamic. Suddenly, others lean in. They fill silence. They qualify themselves. This isn't a tactic. It's a byproduct of internal alignment. Another thing became clear. Social dominance isn't built through action. It's built through non-reactivity under pressure. Anyone can stay calm when things are easy. Very few remain centered when tension rises. When someone challenges you publicly, interrupts you, tests your frame, the invisible man rushes to recover. The grounded man pauses. That pause does something powerful. It tells everyone watching that you are not threatened. You don't defend status, you don't question. I stopped correcting people mid-sentence, stopped rushing to respond, stopped matching other people's speed. Speed is often insecurity. Slowness signals certainty. Another layer of detachment is this. You don't need to win exchanges. You need to remain intact. Many men win arguments and lose respect, because winning emotionally often looks reactive. I let people be wrong. Not because I agreed, but because their opinion had no authority over my state. This is difficult for men who were trained to prove intelligence. But intelligence doesn't need performance. Presence speaks first. One of the most important realizations was this. People don't follow words. They follow emotional stability. When you stay centered while others escalate, you become the reference point without saying anything. That's leadership in its quietest form. Eventually, something subtle happens internally. You stop scanning the room, stop monitoring reactions, stop adjusting posture based on feedback. Your body relaxes, your voice slows, your eye contact stabilizes, you take up space without trying. That's when respect becomes automatic, not admiration. Respect, the kind that doesn't need maintenance. At this stage, manipulation attempts become obvious. Guilt, urgency, Emotional pressure, they stand out because they no longer hook you. You don't get angry, you don't explain, you simply don't comply. That's the final boundary. Not a verbal one, the behavioral one. Men who reach this point are rare, not because it's complex, but because it requires letting go of identity. You are no longer the man who reacts, no longer the man who needs to be seen. You become the man who observes, chooses, and moves deliberately. The world responds differently to that man, not loudly, not dramatically, consistently, and once you experience that level of internal control, there's no going back, because you finally understand something essential. Nothing outside of you deserves authority over your inner state, not people, not situations, not pressure. That's not detachment from life. That's mastery within it. There's one environment where detachment is tested more than anywhere else. Relationships, not just romantic ones, friendships, family, any space where emotion is expected. This is where many men collapse back into old patterns. They stay stoic at work, calm in public, but once emotion enters, they revert, they explain, they negotiate, they overgive. I did the same. I thought closeness required emotional availability at all times. It doesn't. It requires emotional stability. In relationships, the invisible man confuses effort with value. He thinks giving more earns respect. It doesn't. It creates imbalance. The moment I stopped over-explaining my feelings, dynamics shifted, not because I became distant, but because I became grounded. I no longer rushed to fix emotional discomfort. If someone was upset, I listened. I didn't absorb it. That distinction matters. You can be present without carrying someone else's emotional weight. Most men don't know how to do that. They merge. And once you merge emotionally, you lose authority. I stopped chasing emotional resolution. Not every tension needs closure. Not every silence needs to be filled. Sometimes space is the solution. Another uncomfortable truth. People respect boundaries they feel, not boundaries they're told about. In relationships, I stopped explaining what I wouldn't tolerate. I simply didn't engage with it. Disrespect wasn't unconted, it was removed from access. That changes everything, because now the other person has a choice. Adjust or lose proximity. No threats, no ultimatums, just consequence. This applies especially in romantic dynamics. Attraction isn't built through reassurance. It's built through emotional self-sufficiency. When you don't need constant validation, you become stable. When you're stable, you become safe. And safety creates desire. I noticed something else. When I stopped reacting emotionally, conversations slowed down. There was more listening, more space. I wasn't performing. I wasn't trying to be understood. I was simply there. That presence does more than words ever could. Another critical shift was learning to let people misunderstand me. This is hard. Men want fairness, accuracy, clarity, but relationships aren't torts. If someone projects something onto you, correcting it emotionally often makes it worse. I learned to ask myself one question: does this misunderstanding affect my life? If the answer was no, I let it exist. Strong men don't chase perception. They live in alignment and let perception follow. This also exposed manipulation more clearly. Guilt-based language, emotional urgency, passive aggression. Once you're detached, these tactics feel obvious and ineffective. You don't argue with guilt. You don't justify against pressure. You simply don't to comply. That silence is not weakness. It's clarity. Another thing most men avoid is disappointment. Disappointing others feels dangerous, but disappointing yourself is worse. I stopped sacrificing my internal order to keep others comfortable. That doesn't make you cruel. It makes you consistent. People adjust faster than you think, and the ones who don't were benefiting from your lack of boundaries. Letting them go isn't loss, it's correction. At this stage, relationships become simpler, less drama, Less intensity, more respect. Not everyone stays, but the quality improves. You stop being pulled into emotional storms. You become the calm reference point. That's not something you announce. It's something others feel. And once they feel it, the dynamic is set. This is the final piece many men never integrate. Detachment isn't isolation, it's selective intimacy. You choose who gets access to your inner world, and that choice defines your life. When relationships no longer control your emotional state, you are free, not alone, free